Is that your ozone burning? Oh no, the ozone layer was saved. I have heard it smells like after a rain. When I was a child, I can remember that smell. I've not smelled that ozone smell in some time. Perhaps I should buy an electric train. I remember that made the ozone smell. I implore you to consider your smell in this world for an hour or so with me. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. In case we sneak up on a video, here's the Fair Use Disclaimer, Copyright Act 2014, been upgraded and improved now. Don't trust my advice until you talk to one of their professional doctors. I do not have a lot of pictures to go over today. I have this one. This is the monster soup, commonly called the Thames River. Right back to that thing again where I don't get it. We're going to talk about Luis Bazalgette, tailoring account for the Prince Regent, who later became King George IV, was worth over £2 million adjusted for inflation and was guaranteed by Parliament. He must have been a very important person if his tailoring. Look at his grave. Though Chadwick proposed reform on the basis of miasma theory, his proposals did not contribute to improvements in sanitation, such as preventing the reflux of noxious air from sewers back into houses by using separate drainage systems. In the design of sanitation after the reset, I added that. That led, incidentally, to increased outbreaks of cholera and thus helped the support of the theory that, I guess, that it? Nope. 1827. Well, yep, that is it. That is from another study last night. What did I do? Jump the gun on one day of I might have got early in on the equinox, but we're going to carry on like studying the ozone. What is the ozone? Inorganic molecule, chemical formula. This is about the big stink. Do sinners stink? It is a pale blue gas. Wow, ozone is a pale blue gas. It was supposed to be endangered back in the 70s. They had to save it. That's when we knew about the climate change. A diatomic allotrope O2 breaking down in the lower atmosphere, formed from dioxygen by the action of ultraviolet light, like welding, I guess. It's up there in what they call the stratosphere. Wow, we're really going to get, it has a ozone smell reminiscent of chlorine. Many people used to be able to smell it at 1 part per million. Can you think of anything at all that has happened recently where people complained, I lost my sense of smell? I'm alive, but I lost my sense of smell. And for most of them, it was temporary. They didn't understand it. They got no trivial names. Okay. 1875, conducting experiments involving electrical sparks. All this after the reset. Who knew what they could do before? White phosphorus. I don't want to bog down on ozone without the smell, magnetic levitation didn't exist in free space. Filled maxima, filled free space. Look at that frog. He's levitating. So they say that's a levitating frog. In the ozone, look at what ozone does. Look at that. At room temperature material, pyrolytic carbon sheet is levitated by its repulsion. It's repulsed from the strong magnetic field of a neodymium battery magnet. Whatever that means. Ooh, that's weird too. More weirdness. Diamagnetism is the property of materials that are repelled, like ozone, driven away from a magnetic field. You are a magnetic field. Smells are important to everybody. It can kill you. The great stinking 1858. They just picked a year, but I guess it lasted from 1948 to 1848 to 1860, and then they just kept dying, and they called it something else. Isn't that weird? Here's that famous Michael Faraday. I've studied him a number of times. Never heard of that guy. Let's look for Pascal's constants. Copper. This sounds interesting. Diamagnetic materials are those that some people generally think of as non-magnetic and include water, wood, most organic compounds such as petroleum, and some plastics, and many metals, including copper, particularly the heavy ones with many core electrons, such as mercury, gold, and bismuth. The magnetic susceptibility values of various molecular fragments are called constants, Pascal's constants. Boy, they got a big deal here. How can I keep this about an hour or so? I don't want to, they got a limit on our historical extract value of time. No, I'm just kidding. But between 1848, those constants they were using, from 1848 to 2019, they changed them. They don't exist anymore. All the constants of when they used to say that your Z over O equals this exactly. So whenever you do math, put this number in and it'll work. So they used that when they were doing their fission bombs, but it didn't work because 2019, they changed it to this, and that's not that, right? It's not. But they still made their math work, very common in textbooks and papers written about 1990 to substitute the approximate value of a constant. Are you kidding me? I don't want to bog down. Hey, look, space cloth caught my eye. Wow, hypothetical infinite plane. Well, wow. Cool. I wonder how much money was wasted to figure out that hypothetical. Second order partial differential equation. Vague. Uh-oh. I watched a little bit of that moon stuff yesterday, and they were talking about the vacuum in space, and I knew it would make my big brother want to throw up. Hey, look at that. That's how they, using the old formula, figured out everything. What is it? What do they call it? A Kibble balance. It's a Kibble balance. It was used to measure the Planck constant in terms of international prototype of how much a kilogram should weigh. It's 2.2 pounds, I thought, for some reason. But that's a good machine. A lot of people got paid. Hey, dude, you getting paid to hold that? Simmer down, man. There's your standard system, international units. You ever heard of that one? See that one, the mole? Ever heard of it? Can't remember. Oh, whoa! This is what we got going here. Now, is that devil sign we looked at yesterday? That was no. That was a busy day yesterday. I can't expect you to remember everything at all in the whole world at one time. We're just talking about the kibbles and not the bits in our mouths where they're guiding us. So this revision thing, the standard units of measurement, international system, we would say that's IS, but for some reason they call it SI. 7 base quantities, blah, blah, blah. They changed it. It looks like a devil thing to Paco. Ecclesiastes 10:1, to send forth a stinking savor. Oh my goodness, RJ, where are we? Where's my stupid thing? Oh, I was looking at a video. I thought RJ was here. So are we hearing all of this stuff and seeing it all? I just saw a picture of RJ. It must have been, oh, that's right. I had to leave this window open. He's not waiting to get in the show. We had a video where I had to take out a song or it wouldn't have been able to be heard on the YouTube in Russia. So I did that. I just closed it out. Back to the Bible verse. Okay, so let's just pick this here. Ba'ash. To stink, to become odious, to be offensive. The meaning to smell bad. First usage looks like Genesis 34:30. Oh, you have made me to stink among the inhabitants. This is after the 12 patriarchs tricked some people into getting circumcised and killed them. And that was Jacob's going like, man, come on, man. Stank, the river became foul, the water became foul, the river shall stink, make odious. A person can make themselves odious. So we're going to be getting into the smell of things as I go over.
While we're on the oh-so-pleasant topic of the plague, this horrible disease has even more to do with nutmeg. To learn more about it, let's take a quick detour to the Czech Republic.
So, I did a show last night and the Lord woke me up today and it was all about what?
From masala, ras el hanout, and curry powder. But it doesn't end there. There is actually a third product that comes from the nutmeg tree, nutmeg fruit. Worldwide, this is the least popular part of the three. However, in the areas that nutmeg trees grow, nutmeg fruit is arguably even more popular than the spices that lie.
It was a secret. He had to go find out where they made it, It, rock and roll music.
These days,
Very dramatic PBS.
Dollar store. So it's hard to imagine that at one point in time, some of the seasonings that we use every day were literally worth their weight in gold. Spices were once so valuable that they were often even used as currency. During the Roman Empire, it was common for workers to be paid in salt. The word salary actually comes from sol, the last
Wow, this is fun.
population of Europe died from the plague. This time appropriately became known as the Black Death. Some estimate the
Wow,
number of people who
Black
died to
Death.
be as many as
Bad
200
smell.
million. The Sedlic ossuary gives a glimpse into this period of time. It was once a small burial site, but during the Black Death, so many bodies were brought there.
So they say. Anyway, nutmeg.
Did nutmeg actually cure the plague? No. But it might have helped in a small way. It does have an antibacterial property to it that theoretically.
Wow. You know, people that are going to live are going to know these things.
Influence over there. And before that, he attacked Hormuz in Iran. This was all in his attempt to completely control the spice trade, to have a full monopoly on spices.
I know that we like to focus. I know I like to focus on, like, wow, they came here to steal the gold where I live, you know, Coronado and Colorado. But it's about spices too.
One of the most widely used preparations for nutmeg fruit is a juice. In the area that I was in, nutmeg juice was for sale at roadside markets, at restaurants, and in cafes. The juice being sold is not a mass-marketed product. It is either made on site. While they were sacking Malacca, they found a detailed navigational map. Afonso de Albuquerque detailed this finding in a letter to the king.
Remember, all of this was happening during the golden age of Christ that was being ruled with a rod of iron. There were wheats and tares growing together, and some people who might think they were Christians were just going like, you know, I need more spice. I need more pepper.
Portugal. It seems to me, sir, that this was the best thing I have ever seen. Your Highness can truly see the course your ships must take to the Clove Islands, where the gold mines lie, and the islands of Java.
You ever hear that Albuquerque, New Mexico? This is a big part of our history. So they was on this one small island. You don't need the whole thing, you know. They grow it. Oh, a bird.
Really important has happened, or it's going to happen. Well, in 1599, this volcano erupted. Shortly after this volcano erupted, the Dutch appeared on the shore in the Banda Islands.
Did they really? Wow.
An O and
Oh, that's that
a
Dutch
C.
West
And
Indies,
this
East Indies.
stands for the
Vergande
the Dutch
Alchemist
East
Company.
India. When the VOC was formed, Portugal and the Netherlands were at war, or at least they were fighting a lot at this time.
They were the governments of the world, and it's not what God wanted in 1599. He had this plan that where he's going to let Satan, you know, do his last little thing, and well, you know.
Very different. Because soon after that ambush, he was appointed Governor General.
Oh, I meant to add, yeah, they needed to form the nations. These companies, corporations are persons, and they didn't know how to work that angle yet.
He wanted revenge. There is nothing in the world that gives one a better right than power. Despair not. Spare your enemies not, for God is with us.
Wow, that would co-in. Huh. So nutmeg smells like
I got LASIK eye surgery.
So did I.
On the first trip, I only went to Penang in order to visit the nutmeg farm. That was going to be it. But then when I got home from that trip, I started researching the history of nutmeg in order to give some fun facts about why it grows in Penang. And instead, I was disturbed by what I found out. What happened in the Banda Islands was terrible, but that wasn't the part that disturbed me. It was the casualness about how this tragedy was being told. This history is all too often told from the perspective of the colonists. And in this case, that history was summed up with a wave of the hand. They were killed, the Dutch were victorious, and now we have nutmeg. This fact was not fun at all. Going to places with a dark history can help you feel the weight of what actually happened. So that's why I went to Southeast Asia for a second time. I wanted to try and understand what really happened there 400 years ago. And by going...
You know, we don't have to go over the horrors. We know what happened. It happened in it happened everywhere once social Darwinism.
I might be buying hers. Oh, beautiful. Word has gotten out. There's an active buyer in the neighborhood. So a few more people have come by with handicrafts from the area here. This is a pot that is used for water. What would you like other people to know about the Wandan people today?
Pada zaman orang tua datang batas saya punya bapak dan mama itu orang Wandan itu masih dulu dalam bikin bentuk suram belanga dari tanah liat itu. Bahwa itu tandanya Wandan masih ada.
This was used for collecting nutmeg. The strap here actually goes on your head, so you use the strength of your neck.
Jefferson's fundamental curiosity would compel him to buy a Quran, to learn about Islam, to want to think about what Islamic philosophy would teach him about government.
These revolutionary leaders who became the head of government were great readers. And the British before them had, in fact, contact with Muslim kingdoms, such as the Ottoman Empire from the 16th century.
There are no Muslim kingdoms. There's only a fake Muhammad and a fake history of it. Now, they were dealing with people in power that didn't believe in a Trinity. And they had a lot of power, and they hadn't been sufficiently subdued yet. And would they pretend to be all about it? Oh my goodness, they were Freemasons. They would do anything they were told.
To the Library of Congress. And of course, among them is his Quran. So people talk about the Jefferson Quran. Sometimes hear people say, well, he wanted to know his enemies.
Yeah.
It's completely ridiculous. He buys that Quran in 1765 when he's a student. He's interested in comparative religion. He's interested in law. He has a number of books on North African nations, on Muslim nations. They're probably over in that area of the library.
What does that say about Jefferson compared to some of his...
Probably over there.
To say, here was buried Thomas Jefferson, author of the American Declaration of Independence, of the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, and father of the University of Virginia. And then he writes, and not a word more.
To see religious freedom on the tombstone, that feels very significant.
This was
African Muslims being shipped to the Americas.
Now, there's no, you know, of all the records that they have of the past, there's no record of any of these ships. Who contracted? Who built them? Where were they built? Who were their captains? This is the history they're selling.
Practice the religion, that a very different picture of Muslims in early America emerges.
They're reading back into history what they want to read. You can read what you want to read. I think you should just what?
Dying every day. The whole city is experiencing fear. Benjamin Rush sees the cause as miasma, bad air, and he attributes it to a cargo of rotting coffee at the wharf.
Yeah, that coffee rotting, man. That's the bad air. Good job, Benjamin Rush, Presbyterian St. Luke's, signer of the Declaration. Miasma theory was a big thing. How many theories are we going to run through?
This is the era in which air is being studied. In fact, the identification of oxygen is just years away. So air is being pressurized, it's volume measured, it's heated, it's cooled, and this is entirely appropriate for Dr. Rush, who is the first professor of chemistry in the country.
Wow. I wonder if he gave himself that title. What is the miasma theory? It's an abandoned medical theory that held that diseases that they were talking about, cholera, sexually transmitted diseases, and or the Black Death were caused by smell, bad air, stinky, also known as night air. Well, that's a reach. The theory held that epidemics were caused by miasma emanating from rotting coffee and things like that, typically associated with contagious disease. Oh, he smelled the bad coffee, and the black cloud spread out. This is from the 1800s, right? There you go. 1613, bad air. Not too many pictures on the miasma theory, but it was replaced by, you know what? Something can cause bad, you to lose your smell. You wouldn't even know if you were sitting in a room where they didn't know about the, hey, don't keep poop in the room with you. They didn't know about that. Seems hard to believe, but hey, here's Benjamin Rush's coat of arms. He's that guy, the only one. That's his birthplace near Philadelphia. Still there in 1959. There he is to save the day with George Washington. That's him on it. He's not riding with George. He's got his own horse. It's the white one. Here he comes, save the day. But not for this guy. He didn't make it. That's what they said in the picture. Oops. Benjamin Rush, Clinical Gases, 1807. There he is. Nope. Yep. The Moral Temperature. Amoral and Physical Thermometer. Milk and water's good. The grog is not as good. Can't really read it. But did they find these statues and then rewrite history? Because my goodness, what they credit Benjamin Rush with and some of these other people, it's like the architect, it's like the builders, they do everything, There would be no America without this guy. Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, whatnot. Primary cause was dumping poo into the river. Yeah. They say it didn't break out until the 1800s, but they've been doing it for hundreds of years. So, gee whiz, why couldn't they figure it out? They just, you just sitting around, you going to work at the factory and you smelling the poop at night, you get used to it. That means that the accumulated waste is, river, it's not washing out, great stink. So this is the guy. His new sewer systems completed in in 1858. They're going like, man, everybody's dying. So what we need is 1,100 miles of bricked in street sewers. And well, we know that there's an underground in all the big cities, plus 82 miles of the intercepting sewers. Like, that's bigger, better. Everybody carried the articles. The great stink was coined, and he was going to fix it. And to fix it, the parliament gave him $2 million worth of, 2 million pounds worth of silver's worth of clothes every year. And they say they use that Portland cement, but they use the Roman cement. Crosshairs Pumping Station. Let's do our first little excursion. So that's copied. I can highlight this. And then let's look at it. Oh, it's nice. So that'll show them that we know how to fix the great stink. Doggone it. And there's all of if it's going to be a pump, see, these are the things that the steam engines run. Plungers, like, drive that down and drive it up. All the ornamentation is simply because they were happy they were getting rid of the stinky bad air. There's one vote against the stinky bad air. And this is a resounding negative. They do not want the stinky brown air at this. So there was a lot of these pumping stations. This is one of them. 85 pumping stations. They fixed the problem. And we're supposed to be eternally grateful and turn to them at all times. Ozone smell. Somehow today I wanted to find out about the ozone smell. Pungent odor. This guy fixed it. He built the first super sewer, written on 26th of March, 2019, right before they changed the Planck's constant. Here's the guy, chief engineer, creation of the sewage system. Within 20 years, fixed it. Thousands of miles of highly embellished pumping stations working through 1,100 miles of the brand new sewer system, so they'll never have to worry about the miasma stinky again. Way to go, dude. There's the Abbey Mills pumping station. It has that, what they would call Islamic flair going. Which one do you like better? So that's the octagon. That's that same one, that crossness. And supposedly, these were the daily drainage reports written by this guy that by hand and then transcribed. He was busy. No wonder he couldn't pick out his clothes, and he just said, send me clothes. I don't care how much they cost. And they didn't either, but books and books. I mean, his project is still 10 years away from completion, but they were working on it. They were getting it done. And these are the reports of the drainage of towns. We already looked at, okay, there's his Victorium, and this is where he's memorialized. If you knew what to look for, if you were ever walking around the non-stinky Toms in London today, here's a bridge he designed when he wasn't busy doing other things like canals and sewers, pumping stations. And this is where he's buried. St. Mary's Church in Wimbledon, where they have the famous tennis tournament. He did it. I just saw a closeness Oh, that's another crossness. Let's keep going. The London sewer system. Okay. Way to go. It goes all the way around, even out here where this is. You know, even Seattle has an underground. They all have an underground. There's the original Abbey Mills pumping station. That's the new one. Old one, better one. And there's the construction site. They don't give a lot. I mean, it seems like it would be a pretty big deal. That, you know, more than just 4 pictures. And during the early 1800s, the River Thames was an open sewer. Well, that makes sense because Satan was loosed in 1712 and they had to fake all this. Everything's fake, I believe, but I just don't know how they did such a good job of faking it. These people just worked all day at the Blue Sky Mine because they had to feed mama at night. Here's that Crossness engines. They got people want to preserve it. They don't like the new ones that they're building for like the Abbey. They want to keep this one, and as long as it's working, you know, keep it going. Wonder if that gets any bigger. Nope. So let's just enjoy their pictures and move on. If I was ever going to want to stop things from stinking, I'd want it to be nice. William Webster Contractor. I wonder if he's any relation to the Daniel Webster. The Great Stink was an event, not centuries of we didn't know how, what's going on. We're moving into these old buildings and somebody said their poop doesn't stink, but I think it's giving me cholera. It's a conversation that's just imagined and embellished. I'm not really sure that's what happened, but you know, there was a lot of stinking going on. Pumping stations had to get fit all over the place. Starting in 1859, it lasted until 1875 to aid the 1,100 miles of the brick-lined underground. They see it in the movies. Yikes, that looks like a thumbnail. That's what's living in the water. They had it figured out. We got to get the water fixed. How could they fake all this stuff and then really build all the reset after reset inside the reset? That Punch magazine, that was really, this is how we do it, boys. Oh, there's the Thames River intercepting storm relief and outflowing of the sewers. This is what the town looked like as I bite my tongue. Good job. That's always fun in a different kind of world. Working underground is not a problem in the 1860s at all. Not as long as you got the sewer snake. That's that guy, Basilgate. So the Great Stink was a thing. We've all talked about it. I talked about it in 2017. It's always been a thing. I didn't know this. The people in the blue died from unnecessary diseases because the Army and the Navy had read about wars and thought it was glorious, but they didn't realize if they got all these people together, they would die. The people in blue are the people that die. The people that died in actual combat are black colored, right? Or whatever's the smallest one. The biggest one is the casualty in more mortality list brought out by the Florence Nightingale, diagram of the causes of mortality in the army in the East. Just one army. But you always hear, it's like, wow, this half the people, one guy got a scratch, got infected, they cut off his leg, and that didn't work. It was bad air. It was the contagions back then. The fermentation theory. Bacteriology was now, did they move from miasma to fermentation to bacteriology to germ theory? Was there a process that is so complicated they can't share it with us? There was a whole movement. And the sanitary movement was part of your urban planning movement that, we're not going to be building out of nice brick houses anymore. We're going to be doing exactly the opposite, throwing up kit houses you could buy in a Sears catalog. Sanitary measures, basing its sanitary beliefs on miasma theory as opposed to germ theory. Its agenda was based on the construction of, well, we went over that first, but I wanted you to know that it couldn't have been accomplished without a history of urban planning, sanitation, history. These are all from the reset, all from the loosing of Satan, all in the short season, resets inside of resets, smells. Brisbane, Australia. It's just part of life. We poop outside. We poop outside. We go outside. These are kit houses because they must have needed to do some mining around there. They had built all the stone buildings with the prisoners in the early 1800s, and now they've got new people moving there. Outhouses were just a thing, man. But they fixed it in Memphis, Tennessee. They fixed it in New Orleans. It was everything that's been done. It would seem, according to the Bible and our history, was a worldwide phenomenon. Everybody did the same thing at the same time and then took credit for it. It's like, no, we invented the phonograph. No, we invented the telephone. No, you didn't. We did. Hey, look, he's taking a shower in space. Wow. So how is this even happening? Well, what is this? My algorithm? This is my algorithm. This doesn't have anything to do with great stinky things, does it? Oh no, the truth of the UFO invasion. Oh no, a skyscraper Russian drone hits a Russian tower, triggering a what? Don't be. I guess that's a drone. That's a shocking moment. That's a proxy war. The United States or Britain or Germany, somebody else supplied the Ukrainians that drone. Because did you see that guy dancing on my show last night, Vladimir Zelensky? He's dressed in high heels and he's acting weird, man. It looks like 2 drones had hit there. Doesn't it look like there was already a mark? Something's still smoking there. So this is a double drone. Wonder if that smelled like ozone. Are they really just attacking the big buildings, or are they getting rid of the old mud flood crap too still? Is it the same old story? Let's just look at this. We looked at this a little bit last night. There's the Prince Hall. He's a Freemason. I was kind of looking under the I just wanted to see if any of the famous Freemasons had RJ's last name or my last name. They do not, but boy, this is just the H's. It's like, I wonder what it smells like when you roll up your pants and stand there half naked and you had a sword put at your throat and said, "You want to take a death vow? You want to make it in this world? You got to join the Freemasons." And, you can stand there in your little quivering voice and go, no. Well, we're still going to kill you even if you tell them about this part of the ceremony. You mean kill me dead? Yeah. You non-Freemason. So I look up smell and thought we could just look at it a little bit. What does the Bible talk about smell? Rush. Spirit, wind, breath. To blow, breathe, to smell. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor. Is this when Noah got off of the ark? Probably. I don't have the whole Bible memorized or anything like that, but there's, certain things that just come up all the time. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord and took some of every clean animal and some of every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in his heart, "I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the intentions of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever again strike down every living creature as I have done. While the earth remains seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease." And God blessed Noah and his sons and said, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea. Into your hands they are delivered." Except one of the 4 things we talked about last night, that when in the time of the Gentiles, when they were deciding, hey, we understand some bad messengers were sent out claiming to be from you, and they reviewed all of the law and said, there's only 4 things. One of them is don't drink the blood. Don't ingest the blood. Here's where we get that. Every morning, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. So don't let anybody ever tell you that you have to be a vegetarian. It used to be, but now every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. There is no more clean or unclean animals for the people on this earth. That was only a restriction put on the Israelites, and not spiritual Israel, the nation. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with its life. That is, its blood. And for your lifeblood, I will require a reckoning from every beast. I will require it, and from man, from his fellow man, I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of a man. There's only been one time where we still have a chance to beat our swords into plowshares, raise our children, kissed him and smelled him. This was Jacob, Thankfully, Isaac was in a crazy fit, dying and delusional, and was about to mistakenly, unbiblically choose Esau. Thankfully, Rebekah and Jacob got God's will done, but he was hooked on that smell. People can get locked into smells. Let's go back. I wonder what any smells in the Greek. I know that the prayers of the saints this is in Hebrew. We're wrapping things up here. We're going to look at, oh, that's not ozone, but it is the sense of smell and smelling. We know that Lazarus, surely, Lord, he's been dead 4 days. And this is the equivalent of, in the Hebrew, I need to refresh my memory. Okay, so I just didn't want to guess. You know, I thought that was it. I mean, we just looked at it. So in the New Testament, let's look at verse 17. If the whole body were an eye, where would be the sense of hearing? If the whole body were an ear, where would be the sense of smell? I really want to get to one verse in Revelation. Now let's see. This is Christ and his church from one body, one head. The sense of smell is used, it's talked about there. And in 16, hearing. Let's just try it one time, and if not, I'll have to look it up and wrap it up. We're doing this stinking. I've got good weather. I've got some things I have to do. Said sweet smelling savor of, I just didn't remember, Revelation 8. So they prepared to blow. This is, took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, threw it on the earth, peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Now the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to blow them. The first angel blew his trumpet, and there followed hail and fire mixed with blood, and these were thrown upon the earth. I wonder how that smelled. Third of the grass was burned up, third of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. Second angel, fire thrown into the sea. Third angel, great star from heaven. It's wormwood. Many people died of bad water. Fourth angel, sun was struck. Third of the moon, third of the stars, darkening, darkening. Then I looked, and an eagle crying with a loud voice, where's the... When the Lord opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about a half an hour. Then I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and the 7 trumpets were given them. And another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer. And he was given much incense to offer with the prayers of all the saints on the golden altar before the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints rose before God from the hand of the angel. There's only one reason that, we're doing this. It's not, starts in Genesis 9. It doesn't end in Romans 9. But also, when Rebekah had conceived children by one man, our forefather Isaac, though they were not yet born and had done nothing, either good or bad, in order that God's purpose of election might continue. And I'm telling you that in the John 6:66, don't be like the disciples of that day when you heard that same message, that the doctrine of election must stand, because we're all wicked and deceitful unless he changed our heart and we were born again. And you didn't choose your first birth. That's not the analogy. You didn't go down the line of all the people and say, I'll take them. I want them to be my parents. That'll be perfect. It's not how it works. It's not the analogy. John chapter 6, verse 65. And he said, this is why I told you that no one can come to me unless it is granted him by the Father. And the Lord Jesus Christ is the Father. He's not Elyon, the Most High Spirit that is always busy being everywhere all the time, all powerful. He is that vibration, that sound, that word that manifests physically. And that's my story. And I'm going to be sticking to that. And there it is, all in less than an hour, better than I had hoped for. There's really something to that. And I've been seeing it come up on my algorithm too, Marcella, that these could really help somebody up in the mountains like me. If those red light spectrum, I wish I could stay and greet everybody, but I am actually in the process of, I have harvested a plant and I wanted to save the root ball. So all day I've been like soaking it in water and trying to break up that. The roots have locked that dirt in so hard, it's taken me too much time to clean it off. But once I get it cleaned out, it's starting to look like a wig and just, it's already stretched out. And so it's encouraged me to keep going. And the Lord is always encouraging me to keep going. And I hope it's encouraging to you to know that, when I'm doing things like, growing that plant, feeding it nothing but distilled water and colloidal silver to see if it uptakes into the plant, I always got a bunch of experiments running around, but I'm also, I have to worry now. I only have breathing room for the next 20 days here. That's all I need, because there should be between 30 or 35 messages that I can do in those times. And staying the course would mean reminding you that this is Flat Earth Nation. Golden Age is past. It was ruled with a rod of iron. The mud flood was Armageddon. After Armageddon, there's the 1,000 years and then the reaping. And then here we are going like, what's all this orphan train BS they're trying to shove down my throat? Never going to tell you anything else except the mud flood was Armageddon. My friends aren't going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We know we're one called, two chosen, three faithful to being that called, elect, adopted child of God, trying to emulate our big brother Jesus Christ. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. It is so fun to say goodbye.